Hello everyone. I'd like to start to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts and the information that I have collected on red meat and why you should be eating more of it rather than avoiding it. The main things I'll be addressing are the current fears of red meat, which many of you might be familiar with or know or have been told. Um, I'll be telling you why that they are false, and also I'll be speaking on the benefits of red meat and how it'll help you. And towards the end, I'll give you some recommendations that'll help you to add more red meat to your diets in order to uh, get the benefits and just overall enjoy the food that you're eating. So to start, people are afraid of red meat because many influencers and doctors have said that there are health risks associated with the consumption of it. Um, but to be fair, a lot of these people are um, part of like the government and stuff like that. Now, I don't want to hot down like a conspiracy theory, but there are a lot of government institutions that do this research, and then they post it on the internet. And then this research primarily goes through like the the dangers of red meat and what'll happen to you if you eat too much of it. One of the more common links with red meat on these sites are the the fact that it causes heart disease through a chemical called uh, triethylamine and oxide. And most of this there is this chemical inside of red meat, but like in order for you to have in order for it to have like a dangerous effect on you, you have to eat like tons and tons of it. Sorry, you have to eat up like more than like 4 or 5 pounds a day, which the average human, like if we're talking like an average sedentary person that goes to an office and comes home, you're not gonna be eating more than 2 pounds a day. It's absurd to be eating 4 or 5 pounds of red meat in a single sitting throughout the whole day. And usually, um, like the heart disease is caused usually by like your body doesn't process these chemicals as much. Your body just processes it throughout the day. But if you eat an absurd amount, it's so much that your body can't really process it, and that's where you start having the increased risk of heart disease. Another portion of it is that a lot of the red meat that people eat nowadays is mostly fast food red meat, like burgers and like ground beef from very unhealthy sources with like a tremendous amount of oil. It's not the red meat that's causing those heart conditions or making you overweight. It's the amount of oil and the quality of the oil that's being put into this meat. If you go to a place like say for example McDonald's, the quality of the meat is not gonna be that great. I mean, I don't really know what you would expect for the quality of a meat from a $3 to $4 burger, but it's not gonna be good quality meat. They might say it's ground beef, but it could be something completely different. You never know because you're not the one looking at the meat and checking what they're buying and who the person is processing and manufacturing that meat. Also, the oils. A lot of fast food restaurants. In my experience, I used to work at a Peter Piper. Um, they do not change their oil. It could go sitting there 3, 4 days, maybe even up to a week. A lot of this is really a health code violation, but a lot of restaurants neglect changing out the oil because I mean you don't have a health inspector there every week. You have one every month. You just have to make sure that the day before the health inspector comes, you change it out, and then you'll pass the inspection. But before that, nobody changes the oil. Nobody even thinks about changing the oil. So all that oil is just sitting there and being reused, and like all the raw meat that you're mixing in there. You're mixing like raw chicken legs. You're mixing other like raw batter, raw eggs. You're mixing all of that all together, and then you're still using that on like beef patties and stuff like that. So that's really like an accumulation of just bacteria and chemicals just in like side of the oil, and you're just consuming that as you purchase it, but you don't know any better because you know the restaurant doesn't make it known, and you probably never worked at one. But I am telling you that you have to be extremely careful when ordering fried foods or any sort of fried meat, especially red meat if it's fried. Um, that you have to trust the location that you're going to. You have to look around and see if they really maintain a clean and sanitized store. If they don't, I would advise you to leave and possibly go home and make something yourself, or go to a different restaurant that is much cleaner and is up to date with their cleanings. So those are really like the health scares with red meat. Um, uh, and then now I kind of want to go more into the benefits of it in order for you to not be afraid of it. So the benefits of red meat are just amazing. So so these benefits, there are a lot of vitamins, a lot of essential minerals and vitamins in red meat. Um, as we know, we have been um, uh, like herding cows and other animals in order to get the meat. We've been eating it for decades, for eons, for generations. And as of recently, the only thing that's really developed are the fears. Just because of like the introduction of the internet and stuff like that, and people have much more ease of access to information through like Google and Microsoft Edge. But well, we've been eating these meats for forever, and the the benefits of this meat, like it'll it'll just change your entire like life basically. It'll change how you feel. Um, it'll change your performance in, if you're an athlete, it'll change your performance in your workouts, in your games. If you just want to like build a really good like physique, a good body, it'll help you build that physique, um, because of all the micronutrients that are inside of it. All those micronutrients will make you feel better, feel stronger, and they'll help you with energy as well. And most of these micronutrients that I'm talking about, like in beef, more specifically ground beef, because that's more the cheapest option that people opt out for. Um, some of the ground beef has iron, zinc, and vitamin B12. As we know, iron assists with blood flow, and vitamin B12 is an essential mineral or an essential vitamin that helps us with brain cognition as well. Um, Most cuts of ground beef, or most things of ground beef, like 85%. The most common is like 85% lean, 15% meat. It's about like one pound of it is $7. You realistically only need about a pound and a half per day that you should be eating. Um, I mean, it might be more costly than buying chicken and stuff like that, but it's just the nutrients that you get out of ground beef are just so much better than what it would be for like a leaner white meat, like chicken or fish. I'm not saying that chicken or fish is completely obsolete. You still need to incorporate it, but you want to also have some red meat in there, about like a pound per day. Um, I mean, the key here is just a very well diverse diet. Eating a pound of white meat, eating a pound of red meat, in order to get sufficient nutrients in your body for you to feel well. You can get more expensive cuts of meat, or more leaned out meats, about like 93, like 93.7. I think the leanest I've ever seen was 96.4. But at that point, it's kind of like it's not really good for like a bang of your buck. Like 96.4, I think the last time I seen it was about like $10 a pound, which was just like ridiculously expensive. Um, and I don't think many people can afford that. If you can't afford that, go for it. I mean, it's very good, but majority of ground beef has like a lot of vitamins in it already. You don't really need it to be that much leaner, unless you're like trying to get like slimmer. Um, you're trying to get leaner, like if you're like doing bodybuilding, or if you just want to look overall much better, like like for your time at the beach or something like that. Like if you're going to the beach during the summer. But yeah, but the percentage of the meat doesn't matter. Um, what really matters is the amount of vitamins and the amount that you're eating. And that'll help you progressively get better in any sport that you're doing. But it'll also make you feel better, and think much quicker. Now, a lot of you already know about. I already discussed about the fears. I already discussed about the benefits. Now you all are probably wondering, well, how do I incorporate this into my diet? How do I make sure I have the time to be able to cook it and sit down and eat it? Now, my recommendation is take one day. If you work a full-time job, you're working 5 to 6 days a week. If you have one day off, take that one day to cook and prepare your meals in order for you to feel great. Um, it might seem like it takes up too much time, but trust me, just take 3 hours to prepare and cook your meals and incorporate some sort of red meat. Now, a couple of examples that you can incorporate is of obviously the ground beef, which is the most cheapest and it's the quickest as well. The ground beef, it just comes in a packet. You open it, you just slap it on a pan that has like maybe a tablespoon of oil or some cooking spray if you like using that. And then you just break it up and then just let it cook, just watching it every so often and moving it around. Um, More delicate cuts of meat are like ribeye, round top, New York strip, and all that. That takes a little bit more effort and a little bit more cooking knowledge in order to be able to prepare it properly. But there's plenty of resources out there. We have YouTube. There's tons of YouTubers that make cooking content and show you how to make the perfect steak. Everybody has their own opinion of the perfect steak. But they'll teach you the fundamentals of making sure that your steak is cooked and that it tastes well. And in my opinion, red meat doesn't take too much to make it taste good. It already tastes good by itself. Obviously, you just want salt and pepper for additional flavor to make sure that the meat isn't bland. But um, you don't need to go overboard with like spices and like how like those famous cooks use rosemary and thyme and butter and do basting. You don't need to do all of that. You're not making steak for like a multi-billion-dollar company owner. You're making steak for yourself. You're making steak that you enjoy, that you would want to eat, and that you have the time to make in order to incorporate it to make you feel better and function much more efficiently. And also, do not worry about the price. Price does not dictate quality of the meat. On occasions, yes, it does, but it is not completely a fact. Obviously, they have specials and stuff. Also, look at sales that stores are having. If a store is having a like a 50% off sale on meat, buy that meat. It doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that it's probably going to go bad soon, and they haven't sold enough of it, and they don't want to throw it out. Now, what you can do is you can buy a lot of packets. Like, let's say if the ground beef, instead of $7, it was $4 per pound. I would say stock up on that beef, throw it in the freezer. It'll extend the lifetime like by like weeks. And then when you want to prepare it, take it out of the freezer, let it thaw, and then cook it as soon as it's thawed out completely. And that way you can save some money on buying ground beef, and you have some in supply in your freezer that you just have to thaw out, and then you can cook, and then you can prepare, and then you can eat. So all in all, I just want to tell you all that red meat is very helpful for our basic functions in our everyday lives. It tastes great by itself. And also, if you learn how to prepare it well, make it taste good, it'll taste even better. I really do urge you all to, at home, set a plan to eat more red meat. Maybe follow what I told you today. Um, and when you begin to see improvements in your like brain functionality and your muscle building and your blood flow, just know that I am grateful that you listen to my speech and that your day-to-day lives are improving. And I wanted to thank you all again for taking the time out of your day to sit here and listen to my information. And I hope that you follow it. And I thank you all.